Games need players. Why is it when those players leave, the game world becomes so uncanny? The cold ambience, paired with the atmosphere of the abandoned game, makes it unwelcoming almost. But this usually doesn't last for long, because when a game dies, its servers get shut down as well. Other hours spent by developers making a world for the players, wasted in a way. But this isn't always the case. Some games leave their servers running for anyone that wants to explore them. I call them games that refuse death, and I wanted to see what makes their abandoned worlds so strangely eerie. But there's something hauntingly beautiful about these forgotten virtual worlds. Once buzzing with life, now eerily silent. When you explore them, it's as if the game was never meant for you. Every detail was created for thousands of players who have long since moved on. And yet, here you are, wandering through what's left of the world many people used to enjoy. Isn't this kind of beautiful? I find this deeply fascinating. These deserted spaces draw me in. They, in a way, have the same strange feeling of being in an abandoned building. Places built for the sole reason of being used, now empty, decaying, being held only by the few remaining inside, or in some cases, by no one. There's kind of a ghostliness to these games. You know there's nothing to be feared, but you swear you can hear sounds of players sometimes. NeoTokyo is a pure example of this, a free Cyberpunk Half-Life 2 mod that you can download right now on Steam as a standalone game. Created by Studio Eerie, initially released on 3rd of July 2009 and later re-released for Steam on 4th of July 2014 with a green light from Valve. How times have changed. This game didn't gather much popularity, even after officially releasing on Steam, and since 2014 it's been hovering around 35 monthly players at most. After joining, it immediately hit me. The eerie atmosphere, almost hauntingly quiet. The creepy ambience paired with the lonely room I was found in made me uncomfortable on a whole new level. It was like this place didn't want me. I wasn't one of the players the world was waiting for. It felt like the world was ignoring me and was continuing to wait for the hundreds of players that it was meant for. Looking around the empty servers made me feel like I was trespassing in an abandoned version of Tokyo. Even the most normal things, like the train announcer, felt so unnatural and out of place to me. If you think about it, there were no arriving trains to announce, or even people to announce them to. It seemed like the voice wasn't aware of that. It was like a stuck record of the past, echoing through what was once a busy place. But I couldn't help but notice all the details this metro station had to show. It had realistic vending machines. Someone even made different ads for every ad place in the metro. Just like the game maps, the soundtrack of this game is outstanding. Ed Harrison's work really captures the weird vacuum this game is in right now, even though it wasn't made with that in mind. The futuristic sounds that are used and the echoing, almost ghost-like voices you can hear occasionally really capture the vibe of this game. Every sound is really well made and so beautifully mixed. But don't just take my word for it. One of my favorite comments calls it a wonderfully cohesive, stylish and atmospheric, also stating that he is glad that NeoTokyo will live on through its soundtrack for a very long time to come. But I couldn't help but feel the emptiness in this abandoned world. It felt almost liminal in a way. All those well-made ads being shown to no one but me. The fact that it was a metro station in Japan, where usually it is full with people, but yet it was more than empty. The next map I saw was a train going through an endless black tunnel. Before the world even loads, you're hit with this muffled train ambience, and then you're spawned into one of the train's corridors. You can see that the place was inhabited by people at some point. I spotted empty drinks left by the people that once were. In one of the ashtrays, I even saw a burning cigarette. Judging by that, the people were here quite recently. The passengers didn't even have time to turn off their TVs before they left. It was like they were just evaporated, and all of this stuff somehow got left in the train. You can see how the developers intended for the seats to act like hiding spots, and how they left some nooks you can shoot through. But what exactly is their point right now, when there's no one left to shoot? After a while, I started to wonder how exactly the train was moving. I mean, it was quite unlikely that the train was moving by itself, so I wanted to see who was driving the machine. And that way I found a ladder to the top of the train, and I saw for the first time the tunnel the train was going through. It never stopped. The same tree lights continued to loop, and the train continued to go full speed in what was most likely a looping tunnel. The only thing changing was another train passing from time to time. And when that happened, the whole map was shaking. I tried to go to the front of the train where the endless driver should be, but after reaching the first part of the train, the game didn't let me any further. I tried jumping over to the driver's cabin, but it didn't matter how I tried to go forward, I just couldn't succeed. Most likely, an invisible barrier was stopping me from seeing what was behind the scenes. It just didn't seem possible. It seemed like the world itself was stopping its only player from knowing the truth. It was simply out of bounds. I wanted to include an MMO game in this video, and I found this game called Continent of the Ninth Seal, or C9 for short. Two launchers are required to run this game, Steam and another weird one. First, I had to make a character, so obviously I chose this guy. When I first joined, I had hope that someone could still be in this game. It was interesting that the tutorial NPCs were typing in the chat. Chat, I assumed, was for the real players only, and it actually was. It was just the NPCs were the real players now. They were the only ones populating this world, and they were the only ones cursed to stay here forever. It's not like they chose this fate either. They were soullessly planted here by the devs, forced to live in an MMO that will eventually lose all its players, having no choice but to look at the same things they always have, being programmed with an overly friendly dialogue, with the only purpose of talking to other players. A purpose you can't even fulfill anymore. I can't think of a sadder existence than this. It is a curse I wouldn't wish even to my worst enemy. This MMO game had a different feel from all the other games. It was just as empty as the other games if we count the players, but it felt artificial in a way. The world was full with people, but only fake ones. I was the one different in this world, the world's only person. I typed in the chat, hoping that someone, maybe, just maybe, could respond, but alas, that didn't happen. The world was pretty much dead, and I represented 100% of the players. Walking around felt strange, not only because the world wasn't for real players anymore, but because walking around had no real purpose anymore. No Strangers is a multiplayer horror game. It's kind of similar to Among Us. You can be three classes: Cursed, God, or Innocent. That is, if there are any players online, of course. When I joined the game, I was spawned in the waiting room. It's basically a really dark, foggy field that is boxed off with a red barrier with these weird symbols. And there's a van in the center of the boxed off circle. You can try to go in and start the van up in hopes of escaping, but any interaction with the machine just let you in the game's cosmetic Steam page. Behind the van, there's a dirt road, and in the distance you can see street lamps that weren't working for some reason. There's also what looks like a bus stop, but you obviously can't go there. You stopped with the red symbols being in your way. You're left with no hope of escaping. If you follow what the prompt at the top of the screen asks you, you start a game, and then you are immediately kicked out and placed back in your cursed prison cell with the van. The whole time, I had the feeling that I am missing something, and that surely the developers had called it a monster or a jump scare if you stay long enough in the waiting room. But after 20 minutes of staying and exploring the place, I couldn't manage to get it. But there was still one thing bugging me. If there were no one in the servers of NeoTokyo, where were the 35 monthly players that the chat was showing initially? I was really hoping that these numbers weren't coming from some kind of bots, so I decided to log in one more time and see if there was still no one playing. I waited a couple of hours and opened the game once again. Of course, I didn't expect much from it, but to my surprise, in one of the servers, there was a single player. So of course, I joined the server as quickly as possible, in the hopes it wasn't just a server bot. And whoa, after joining, it was in fact a player. They showed me around the maps and the mechanics of the game. Also, they said that the community of NeoTokyo gathers every Friday, and that I'm welcome to join. I honestly didn't expect this game to have any players left. The fact that there was a consistent community of players gave me a lot of hope, not only for NeoTokyo, but for all the games I've tried in this video. All that was left was to wait to become Friday and see what the NeoTokyo community is actually like. And there it was, a server full with people. There were a lot of old players. Some have even played from the release of the game. I had so much fun playing the game the way it was intended to be played, and not just looking around the empty maps as I was doing before. The community was super nice as well. It didn't matter that it was my first time playing. It was a super cool experience. There was even this moment where I died from a grenade lineup, and the guy that killed me actually apologized. These little interactions made me appreciate the NeoTokyo community even more, as they were all super cool people. NeoTokyo, a game almost forgotten, held strong by these few people, passionate about this game. If it wasn't for those heroes, the NeoTokyo servers would be shut down a long time ago. But alas, they are not. It honestly makes me so happy that I was able to explore some of the many maps this game had to offer. And most of all, play a Friday match with so honorable and cool players. And then it hit me. Maybe there is hope for all these games after all. Maybe we shouldn't just focus on a high player count and high dopamine games, and we could go and save some of these forgotten by almost everybody games and stop them from being shut down. Are you ready to give up your usual games for an hour and give a less popular game a shot with your friends and create some memories from the emptiness that lingers in games that are soon to be shut down?